And we're back. It's the Horror Guys.
Once again, to talk about some horror movies.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're the Horror Guys.
We are.
Two guys with horror.
Yes, we are. Who's our sponsor?
HorrorMonthly.com.
Stumped you there, didn't I?
Did you see that one coming? Yeah, check out HorrorMonthly.com where we've got all our reviews every month posted there. We have paperbacks, ebooks, everything. Each one, Horror Monthly, of course, has the entire month's worth of horror movie reviews in it. The new episode, new issue, is going to be out. See, we're recording this on Sunday. It should probably be out on Tuesday.
Because it's month end.
It is.
Yeah.
Beginning of the month, every month. Mm-hmm. Almost like it was on the calendar.
Almost.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, this week, though, we'll bring you 5 more movies, as always. We got a few new ones. We got a few old ones.
A nice mix this week. And I was mostly entertained.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5?
Yeah, they were all decent enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple were really good.
At least watchable.
Well, what do we have?
We have Ash, a brand new science fiction horror movie. And Shadow of God, that was also out this year. Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
No. Oh, yeah,
new.
that one was, yeah. Final Recovery, an indie kind of work that was out this year. Those are the new ones. And then we got a classic Godzilla versus Gigan from 1972.
That monster is gigantic.
He is.
I had to say it like that.
Yes, yeah. And The Final Destination, which is misleading.
Because it's not.
They thought at the time it was going to be.
There'll never be any more of these.
Since then, it's become known as Final Destination 4.
Yes.
Because there's a 5th one. And
Not
then there's
so
going to be
final.
a 6th one. And yeah, they keep making them.
We didn't watch a Final Destination for next week.
No, but we totally should.
I guess we'll get back to it.
We should soon, yeah.
First up, though, we have 2025's Ash, directed by Flying Lotus.
That might not be his real birth name.
You don't think?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Written by Johnny Remler, stars Isa Gonzalez, Aaron Paul, and Iko Uwais.
Flying Lotus also makes an appearance in the movie as one of the astronauts.
He gets his face eaten off.
Yeah, or dissolved or something.
Hour and 35 minutes.
It was messy.
Trailer in the show notes. And I'm going to go right out there and say this is my favorite of the week.
I'm going to go with that, too.
You are. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, spoiler-free, what happens?
It's a little bit of a mystery. As the main character, she wakes up with a foggy memory and tries to piece together what happened on a space station with failing power and multiple bodies and carnage everywhere. And it kind of gives it a video game quest kind of vibe at times, the way she's waking up and, almost like a first-person exploration. Things do gradually come together as she and us viewers figure out what happened and why. The cast is really good. The story's compelling. The effects are excellent. We really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like Alien and The Thing and outer space movies in general.
Horror science fiction is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one was well done.
Yeah, it's very good, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if we weren't doing the horror guys, we'd be doing the sci-fi guys.
We would, yeah.
We did for about a week there, didn't we?
And then we realized, we don't have time to
for
do
this. Well, Rhea has flashing visions of people's heads melting and exploding. It's all very graphic. The computer announces, abnormal activity detected, systems failure, reboot. And she wakes up on the floor with blood on her hands.
And blood, lots of places.
Oh, there's blood everywhere.
It's a mess.
She walks down the hallway, noticing bloody handprints and dead bodies everywhere. She goes outside, and it's raining ash. Hey, that's where it comes from.
Hey, that's why they call this planet Ash.
She finds more bodies scattered around, and looks up and sees something amazingly weird in the sky. This is clearly not Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And credits roll. Well, she finds that she's having trouble breathing and barely makes it back inside before passing out.
Yeah, the air isn't right at all outside.
Yeah, she went outside and didn't realize it wasn't Earth or something.
Because she really has no memory of what's going on and where she is. Yeah.
Well, it's flashback time. Adi, Kevin, Davis, Clark, and Rhea eat Brian's beans, referring to a guy still up in orbit, and talk about who's going to be the first one to go outside on this new planet. They're the first ones here, ever. The atmosphere is almost breathable, and may be the best find yet for their potential colonization needs.
Yeah, you can last outside a few minutes without a spacesuit.
Which we've already seen.
Yep, yep.
Back in the present, Rhea washes the blood off and wonders, who am I? And then walks through the ship, reading notes and watching videos. And this is where you started saying it feels like a video game.
Mm-hmm. As she's putting it together.
Learning all what's going on.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the computer announces that there's movement outside the airlock. There's someone outside banging on the door to get in. Rhea attacks the man when he comes in, but quickly finds out it's Brian, who has come down to the surface. He got their distress call. There was something there about Clark having a psychotic break. She explains that by the time she woke up, everyone had been killed. Other than that, she doesn't remember anything. Well, Brian reminds her that Earth is dying, and they sent out 7 expeditions to find a new home. This planet, called Ash, is where they sent the 7th and last ship. He remained aboard the mothership to establish communication with home, but now he's come down to investigate. He does a medical scan on Rhea and says she's got a concussion, but is otherwise fine, other than the memory loss and minor wound on her forehead that the automatic surgeon robot fixes up.
And let me just chime in and talk about that automatic surgeon
I knew you were going
robot.
to.
That is so weird because they're all speaking English. It seems to be an English-based.
Mostly an American cast.
Yeah. And it's a weird Japanese hybrid of very Japanese with English thrown in, mishmash.
If you've ever ridden a Japanese bus or a train, it sounds just like the voice on one of those, including the little dings and beeps and pings and chimes and stuff.
Why would this robot not be speaking English? I don't know.
They were in a hurry. They had to take the medical droid they could find.
I guess.
I don't know. It was weird.
It was made in Japan, and that's what they had ready, I guess, maybe.
Well, Rhea keeps hallucinating the dead faces of her crewmates. Could she have been the killer? Even she's not quite sure. They wonder where Clark went. Could she still be alive outside? The station is slowly running out of oxygen. There's some kind of a leak somewhere, so they need to get back up to the orbital station. The launch window is in 12 hours.
Yeah, Brian says it's a problem because they pretty much have to be, the orbiting station pretty much has to be right overhead.
Yeah, there's a very tight window of launch.
Yeah.
And, well, things escalate, and there's more stress, and it gets violent from there.
Mm-hmm. Very violent.
Okay, so down to the commentary part. Boy, this must be in the future when white light bulbs are illegal or something.
Well, it's for some reason when they're on emergency power, the white lights no longer work.
Yeah, everything is lit up in red and blue,
which I kind of like.
It looks cool for a movie, but it'd make me insane after 5 minutes. This is crazy.
That's how you know they're in an emergency.
In the future, we won't have white bulbs anymore. Just remember.
Well, they did when things were normal. They showed normal times.
And as you said, what's the deal with the machine speaking Japanese on an all-American base? Mm-hmm. That was just weird.
It was.
It was funny and it's kind of cool, but okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's basically a great big briefcase with an arm attached.
Yeah.
It's not a humanoid robot.
No. And when we do eventually see some aliens, they're some of the most alien aliens we've seen yet.
Uh-huh.
They're very cool.
Yeah.
Other than the funky lights, the special effects, gore, and sci-fi stuff all look great. Other than the funky lights.
Yeah, I didn't mind the funky lights.
Everything looks good.
Yeah.
The plot is a mystery. What is going on? Why? Who killed him? And how? It turns out it could almost be taken as a sequel to The Thing, as these aliens seem almost, maybe it could be even related.
Yeah, I mentioned that in my commentary, too.
What do you say?
And the creatures are nightmare fuel. The creature effects.
They are.
Yeah. John Carpenter's The Thing. A little dash of, you remember 2017 Life?
Vaguely. I know we did watch it officially. It's on here somewhere.
Just a hint of that, and I thought it had some Lovecraftian elements to it,
absolutely,
too.
yes.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I didn't mind the colored lights. I thought it was cool. Definitely my favorite of the week.
Yeah. And you mentioned the word of the day there. Mm-hmm. The word of the week is Lovecraftian.
Lovecraftian.
We're not going to say why, but just remember that.
Yeah.
Lovecraftian.
Lovecraft. He has an influence on many things.
Including the horror guys.
Yeah.
2025's Shadow of God. Directed by Michael Peterson, written by Tim Cairo, stars Mark O'Brien, Jacqueline Byers, and Sean Johnson. Hour and 27 minutes, trailer in the usual place.
And this was definitely my second favorite of the week. I liked this a lot.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
No.
I thought you weren't into exorcisms.
I'm not, but this was different enough to be worthy of. Again, it renewed my faith in exorcism movies. Because I went into it thinking,
Yeah, another
it's
exorcism.
another exorcism movie. Well, this is not.
There is more to
This
it.
is not typical.
Yeah.
And I liked what they did with it. And it complicated things.
Well, spoiler free, it's very well made. It is an exorcism kind of movie, but it's not a ho-hum another one, which we were kind of expecting. There are some differences which made it unique and interesting. We both liked it quite a bit. Kevin more so than me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's all right. I didn't hate it.
Okay.
I'm just getting really tired of exorcisms.
Yeah.
Seems like every movie last summer was an exorcism. The Pope's Exorcist, The Last Exorcist. I don't even remember all of them. There's so many.
But that's why I liked this one so much. Because I have been getting wary of them. And
Well, usually when you do an exorcism, you're trying to get the demon or the devil out of somebody.
mm-hmm.
This one might be different.
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, we open on a church in Guadalajara, Mexico. There's a pair of priests that are talking to a woman in a wheelchair, and they're doing an exorcism. The demon argues with them about her name, and then the woman kills Father Scott.
Ouch.
Yeah. The other priest, Father Mason Harper, uses Scott's blood to drive out the demon. Well, Harper reports to the Vatican, and they mention that Father Scott was the 6th exorcist killed today.
How many exorcists do they have?
A lot, and a lot fewer now. So something's going on. The demons are fighting back a little too much. And in southern Alberta, Canada, Mason waits for a ride in the empty countryside. He watches his own father jump off a bridge, but he appears to have imagined that. Tanya comes to pick him up, and he says the past 24 hours have been strange.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Mason's coming home where he grew up with all kinds of terrible trauma. Well, she basically doesn't believe in anything. She's very science-based and a doctor. And she thinks his exorcisms are psychosomatic cures. She's actually a psychiatrist. And she thinks it's just for lunatics, but he knows better because he has seen things, as we saw in the opening scene. They argue, and she drops him off and leaves. Well, there's no alcohol in the house. This is the house he grew up in. So Mason walks to the store and buys a bottle. And as he leaves, he sees his father in the fog. Well, we flash back to his father, who was a religious fanatic, nailing Mason's hands to a board as his father whips him for the parishioners. Yes, Mason escaped from his own father's cult, and then went straight to the Catholic Church.
Oh, that's so much better.
Yeah. Well, Tanya doesn't see that as much of an improvement. She says his father wasn't possessed, he was schizophrenic. And then Tanya gets a call from the police that a man jumped off the bridge, and there was a witness who walked away afterwards.
Oh, maybe that wasn't quite what we saw before.
Yeah. Well, not the witness walked away, but the guy who jumped walked away
Yeah,
afterwards.
but Mason was the witness.
Yeah.
He was the one seen walking away.
Oh, right, yeah. But there was another guy that witnessed the landing. And the body, the guy that landed
yeah.
and went splat, she goes to the hospital and talks to the guy who says that the dead man landed on the rocks right in front of him and then got better and walked away. It was some kind of terrible miracle. And the guy's thinking, it means the end has come. And he's kind of rattled by this experience. Well, Mason is still at home, and the police chief, Glenn, comes to Mason, says he saw Mason's father wandering around by the highway. He's got his father in the back seat.
Who's very much not dead.
Doesn't appear to be
and
dead.
He's been dead for years.
He's been dead for years, and here's father, yeah. And Glenn's, it was almost amusing, darkly amusing the way Glenn is just noping out of there. He's like, resurrection's more your jurisdiction, and he leaves.
You take this guy.
This is your problem now. Yeah. Well, Angus, the father, says they're looking for us. If they find us, we all die. And like I said, Glenn bails and leaves. He's done his job, and it's on Mason now. So here's Mason stuck with his dead father, wondering, what do I do now? Well, Mason has always believed that his father made a deal with a demon many years ago, and maybe this is their opportunity to fix that. That's why he's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how's that going to go, do we suppose?
Yeah, so he's got to do an exorcism on his own father.
Yeah.
Who seems to have come back from the
There may still be more
dead.
to it than we know.
Yeah.
Well, as we said earlier, it's a different kind of exorcist movie where maybe God is the bad guy here. The special effects are good, and for a long while we weren't sure whose side we were supposed to be on, which made it interesting.
It makes it complicated.
Even at the end, I'm not quite sure who was right.
Mm-hmm.
It's well made, looks good, is different enough to be interesting, but it is another exorcism film, which tends to bore me a little bit, so I'm a little anti-biased against exorcisms.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Anything to add to that one?
No, just that I liked it. Thought it was cool.
Liked it.
Complicated.
All righty. Let's see what's coming up next. Next up, we have The Final Recovery, also from 2025. Directed by Harley Wallen, written by Jerry Lee Davis and Nick Thurer, stars Charlene Tilton. Remember her from Dallas?
Oh, she was?
Yeah, she was one of those Dallas people.
Oh, okay. I was
well, many years ago.
I was never really a Dallas fan. I didn't look at what other stuff she had done. She was. I actually made a note of how impressed I was with her in this.
Yeah. Also Jasper Cole and Richard Tyson. Hour and 36 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free, what happens?
There's nothing like a festive holiday movie to put you in the spirit. This is a Christmas movie.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
It takes place at Christmas. It's not really, Santa
it's
killers
not
or anything.
About Christmas, yeah, that's not the focus. But anyway, this was very well put together with drama and human struggles building towards some real horror at the end. Charlene Tilton nailed it as Nanny Lou, able to hide her core with a mask of sweetness when she wanted to. We thought it was quite good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little on the light side of the horror.
And the cast is all at least decent, but you could tell most of the cast was not as experienced as she was.
Yes, it's one of the indie type films. Some of the
indie.
acting is really good. Some of it's not the greatest, but it's overall it's very good. Yeah.
Yeah. I was pretty impressed.
Again, more drama than horror here, but it's got some good stuff at the end.
Yeah,
for horror,
especially
people.
the end. Yeah.
Well, we're told it is 1974 at Christmas. Louise's father closes the store at night and talks to Louise's father closes the store at night and talks to a guy who's begging on the street. The argument escalates until the old man gets stabbed and dies as his daughter watches him. Louise's. I gotta correct that.
Louise's with an E, yes.
Today, Rodney goes to his trailer and admires his drug collection
Yeah.
when two cops, Levi and Jacob, barge in and search the place. They knock out Rodney and take him to a rehab place for treatment. Is that the way that works?
It did in this movie. That was some rough handling.
Yeah, Louise is there, all grown up now, and she runs the treatment center. And she pays off the two cops for bringing Rodney in. Dr. Sam Porter is there, and he tells Louise Rodney's going to be unconscious for a while. They whacked him good. Well, Jacob brings in another crackhead, and he's not in good shape either. Sam thinks maybe they should call an ambulance for this guy. But she says, we can't send him to the hospital. He's got my specials in him. What?
What? So she's up to something here.
In the morning, Rhonda brings some of Rodney's things since he's going to be there for a long time. She calls Louise Nanny Lou, and she's been through this before. Rhonda still blames Rodney for the death of their child. Her daughter Kylie says she needs to forgive Rodney. So we got the drama going on here.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, at the treatment center, Louise makes up a batch of pills, and Rodney talks to Dustin, the new guy, about them both being on Nanny Lou's special drugs.
So she's running a treatment center and making drugs for
It's
the
good
people.
for business, I imagine.
Yeah, it would keep them coming in.
At group meeting, we meet a few more of the recovering addicts. Tanya and Heather argue. We also meet Marianne, one of the counselors there at Sage. Dustin tells his story, but he doesn't want to be here. Dustin leaves, but he later goes into convulsions and Levi brings him back in. Sam says they're giving him too high of a dose. Cindy, Dustin's sister, sees his condition and says it's all from his Aleppo PTSD, and they can't really afford to stay here anyway. Louise points out that it's either here or jail since the cops found so many drugs in his system.
Thanks to Louise's special mix, yeah.
Louise talks about financing and that she'll let Dustin work in Cindy's store to help keep an eye on him. But Levi thinks Cindy is onto us. But Louise is confident that she's got everybody hoodwinked. And I'll stop there. It's a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm. And we do find out Louise's motivation and some of what she's up to. Yeah.
And this one was filmed here in Flint, where the horror guys live. They didn't invite us to be on the cast.
No,
darn them.
They didn't.
Which is pretty cool, although I didn't recognize any of the locations.
Some shots looked vaguely familiar, but I couldn't have placed anything.
Well, I see one point where one of the cops get out of a Flint police car, and I certainly recognize that.
Oh, yeah.
It's also, oddly, a Christmas movie in its own twisted way.
Set at Christmas time.
The characters here are all distinctive and interesting, and the drama of drug addicts in rehab dealing with their families is all very good. It's kind of talky, but the horror elements don't really come in toward the end, but we were entertained throughout.
Yeah.
We definitely did like it.
I was kind of anxious for him to get to the horror sometimes, but yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. Definitely more horror, more drama than horror, but it takes a turn.
I dug it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of digging things, we've got Godzilla vs. Gigan from 1972, directed by Jun Fukuda, Yoshimitsu Banno, and Ishiro Honda. We got typos in everybody's name here today.
How can you tell?
Written written by Takeshi Kimura, Shinichi Sekizawa, stars Hiroshi Ishikawa, Yuriko Hishimi, and Minoru Takashima. Hour and 29 minutes, trailer in the show notes. Well, what do we think?
Spoiler free. Well, this has humans versus aliens and multiple fighting creatures and loads of collateral damage to buildings and infrastructure.
So it's a Toho movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And the coolest aspect, I thought, there's a lair in the shape of a giant Godzilla in an amusement park. I loved that.
They're making a Jurassic Park for Godzilla, and they got a big statue of him.
And there's blood. This is the first time we have seen the creatures bleed in battle. And a little background thing that kids complained that it wasn't realistic enough. And supposedly they added the blood in this one because the kids wanted it more realistic.
The children need more blood.
Yeah. There were some long battles that were maybe too long. But, yeah, like you said, it's a Toho kaiju film. And if you're a fan of those, this was one. I mean, it's as good as any of them.
They do kind of run together after a while.
They do a bit. The battles, the monster battle just did drag on a bit in this one, it seemed like.
Well, as we watched the original, I mean, the monster's the cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And then the sequel, the monster was still cool. At this point, the monsters fighting in rubber suits has gotten pretty... We're like 13 or 14 into the series now. The monster battles are boring, as an adult who's seen them all before.
And
it's the drama and the human characters that make it interesting now.
In the 1970s fashion and the futuristic things.
Retro,
the retro futuristic of the 70s. Or what they thought the future was going to look like. And that's the cool stuff in these.
Hey, the modern Godzilla movies, the monsters are the draw, of course. But these are still just guys in rubber suits and getting a little old at this point.
A little bit.
We've only got like 35 more of these to go. Well, we start with a cartoonist drawing kaiju comics. So kaiju comics are a thing here. Mm-hmm. He talks to his friend who pitches him the idea of a homework monster, which is what the kids really fear. It starts out as homework and then mutates into a monster. The cartoonist says that idea stinks. Well, Gingo is assigned to go to the construction on the Children's World site, where they're building the Godzilla Tower, part of a theme park. The head of the project, Kubota, explains the idea to Gengo. He's a big advocate of world peace. Gengo says the part needs more monsters and suggests a few others, including, of course, Homework Monster.
Of course.
Kubota hires Gengo to design some new monsters. After this children's land will be complete, Kubota plans to destroy Monster Island.
Yikes. Where will they live then?
I guess they don't need to live because they'll have their replicas there on the island, in the park. I don't know the logic on this one.
I think he's kind of a bad guy.
Gengo gets to work drawing his Homework Monster and Uptight Mother monsters. The Uptight Mother monster, Mamagon, looks just like Gengo's wife. I noticed that before he pointed it out.
Coincidentally, the colors are the same, what the monster and what she is wearing.
On the way to see Kubota, he runs into a girl who drops a tape that he picks up. Kubota and 4 henchmen immediately chase after the girl.
And you can tell they're henchmen because they're all dressed the same.
Oh, yeah. That's if you got. I want henchmen. I could get a discount on clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
At the offices of the Children's World site, Gengo sees that it all looks like a supervillain's lair, and the chairman there, Fumio, is very, very young, but also working on some serious math formulas. They mention a lost tape that could ruin their plans for peace. Gengo says nothing about the tape he found and is still carrying. On the way home, that strange woman and her friend want the tape back. They are Machiko and Shusaku, and they tell their story. Her brother worked for the company and recently discovered an evil secret about the company, and they did something to him. The tape Gengo has as evidence, but he's left it in a train locker for security.
So they are villains.
Well, her brother, Takashi, is still alive and argues with Kubota and the chairman about his forced overtime. He's being held prisoner. They get an alarm that someone is playing the Action 2 tape. Gengo and his new friends don't understand the tape at all, but on Monster Island, Godzilla and Anguirus wake up and pay attention. The two monsters talk to each other, using comic book speech bubbles over their heads. We see this on the screen.
That was pretty funny.
I don't believe Godzilla has ever spoken before.
He does in this one.
And then, of course, the monsters come and hilarity ensues.
Yep.
You know where this is going. There's going to be a fight.
There's villains and good guys and good monsters and bad monsters. They work it out at the end.
So many models were destroyed in this.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the model work here is really good, and there's a lot of it. I'm sure some of it was reused, but it all looked good.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of work went into those just to smash in one quick scene. The monsters, however, are still just guys in rubber suits. The voice bubbles for the monsters were hilarious, and the translations were even better. They need more of that.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of nods to comics, cartoons, and manga here, and that must have been a big thing at the time of filming. Of course, it was always these were aimed towards children at this point, so yeah. The monster fighting goes on and on and on here. There are lots of models destroyed. There's not much to say about the fights themselves, other than they seem to go on for like 45 minutes.
And in these movies, it's always Tokyo that gets targeted.
Well, yeah, if you're going to smash something, smash big.
It's like every Tuesday, Tokyo gets destroyed.
It's a big city. They can smash a different part every week.
Well, they didn't, though. They don't in some of these movies. You can see, sometimes you'll see models being reused, like, oh,
they blew that up last week.
It's that mobile gas station on the corner that's blown up again.
Well, 3 of the monsters that appear here had shown up before, but this was Gigan's first appearance. He would later appear in 3 other movies and make numerous appearances on TV. And he's got claws instead of hands, and a buzz saw in his belly. It also looks like he has a laser beam eye in the posters, but we never see that used here. They couldn't afford it. But the saw blade in his belly, that's meant for cutting things. And what happens when you cut things?
Things bleed.
It bleeds, yes.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, this is the first film in the series to show blood, which was based on children's request to make the fights more realistic. Unlike the last few of these movies, there are no children in this one.
Adults only.
Which is kind of a nice break.
Yeah, I thought so.
But overall, the monster fights aren't that great because we already know who's going to win. The fights were a little tedious, but the human bits were mostly kind of funny. A lot of us played for laughs in this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Some of the ones we've seen recently were just very kiddified and not very good. This was a step up.
Yeah, as far as the human stuff. If I had a secret lair, I would definitely want it to be inside a giant hollow Godzilla.
Nobody would look there. It's too much out in the open.
Nobody
it's
would
too
think
obvious.
of looking there. Yeah.
Well, if you were going to make a Final Destination movie and never make another one again, what would you call it?
I'd call it The Final Destination.
The Final Destination from 2009.
Filmed in glorious 3D.
Oh, it was too, yeah.
We didn't see it in 3D, but you could tell.
Oh, yeah. These things are always so obvious. Mm-hmm. And, with things shooting at the screen, this one was maybe a little more obvious than most.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, this is also known as Final Destination 4, directed by David R. Ellis, written by Eric Breeze and Jeffrey Reddick, stars Bobby Campo, Chantel Van Santen, and Nick Zano. Hour and 22 minutes, trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free. In hindsight, this was called Final Destination 4, but at the time it was planned to be the last one. We didn't see the 3D version, but it's very obvious they were filming with that in mind. Stuff shoots everywhere.
Right at ya.
We didn't think this was as strong as the previous 3. There were some issues here. The main character has too many premonitions regarding the deaths to give away too many hints ahead of time. They added some stuff to this one, and it seemed like bad choices looking back.
I thought so, yeah.
It still has those chain of events death scenes, but they weren't quite as fun this time around. It's pretty good, but definitely the weakest of the four. This is one of those weird series. I'd say all three of the first ones are equal in quality.
This one was not quite as good.
Yeah, this one is a step down. It's not bad, but it's a step down.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Well, what's it do? What's about happening?
Well, this one starts at a racetrack. And as the cars speed around the loop, the fans cheer, yay! And we zoom in on Nick, who's the main guy. No, he's not. No. Explaining that they're really just watching in case there's a crash.
Why else would anybody go to a race and watch a bunch of cars drive around in a circle?
Well, his friends are there, Hunt, Janet, and Lori. Nick notices that everything in the speedway is really old. Is Nick the main character?
Yeah.
Oh, he is, yes. Okay, I got the names backwards. Yeah, he's the main guy. It's crumbly, and things are rattly and loose, and Janet even asks, is it safe to sit here? Of course, there's a fence there.
Good, the fence is going to keep out a race car.
And as he says that, we zoom in on the bolts of the fence rattling, and there's all kinds of things.
We've already seen
loose.
6 Ways to Die here already.
Yeah, things are looking sketchy on the racetrack. Well, Nick starts to get a weird feeling. We cut to someone knocking over an oil can, and a car drives off with a gas nozzle left inside. A car drives over the nozzle that fell out and flips over repeatedly. And a tire flies out, kills one of the spectators. And a car lands in the stands. And pieces of car fly everywhere.
In 3D.
Yep, the stands collapse and catch fire. People get sliced in half, trampled, impaled, burned, and squashed. Everybody dies.
Didn't see that coming.
Well, back a moment ago, Nick remembers what's about to happen. It was just a vision. And displays his knowledge of the very near future. We've got to get out of here. We're all going to die, he proclaims. And this devolves into a fight. And because of that fighting and arguing and stuff, a bunch of people end up chasing them outside and get kicked out, and the security guard goes out with them. And then the crash happens.
How many horror movies, uncountable thousands of horror movies, have a harbinger? You're all going to die. Don't go there. Don't do it. You've got to leave. And they never listen. This is what happens when people listen to the guy.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Well, some of them listened, and some, were fighting and tagging
And we
along.
see how that worked
Security
out.
kicked them. So it's a group of them that comes out, and they stand outside as mayhem ensues. The racist guy's wife got left behind, and a woman still does get killed by a flying tire. And credits roll.
Well, that was a lot.
Yeah. Well, Nick, Hunt, Lori, and Janet talk about what happened at a coffee shop. The death toll is at 52, and they talk about going to the memorial. And at the memorial, they talk to a few of the other survivors. Some are thankful, and some aren't. One racist guy makes a scene with George, the black security guard. And then later, we see the racist guy driving to George's house, and he gets a cross out to burn on his front yard. Except through a series of coincidences, yeah, his tow truck drives away and drags him down the street, hooked to it. He catches fire, and the truck explodes, dumping his head right in front of George.
Justice.
And Nick watches on the news report on TV, and he dreamed about that last night, and then he gets another premonition. And next up is the mother with 2 kids.
Ooh, leave them in suspense.
We should leave them in suspense.
Somebody's going to die.
But you get the idea. The survivors end up not surviving, most of them.
Most of them.
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out how to defeat the death chain, Same kind of premise as the first 3.
Yeah. Well, the main incident here was based on a real racing crash and chain reaction from 1955, the Le Mans disaster, which killed 84 people and injured over 100.
That's crazy.
Many in the same way as depicted here. People got sliced in half, cars on top of them, and so forth. This one was filmed in 3D, which is obvious from some of the obviously set up shots we get. Nick's visions, this one he gets little premonitions about the, ropes and hooks and death tools. They're all done in bad CGI that didn't hold up well at all.
No, I don't think it did either.
It's like cartoony almost. But it mostly follows the same formula as the previous films. This one adds Nick getting those premonitions of how everyone's going to die with the freak accidents, which I think lessened the impact of the weird accidents. Didn't really help him any because he never did figure any of them out.
Not really. No.
But he had hints and it didn't work. And this time, at the end, Nick also gets a second chance to do a rewind. And that lessened it even more.
Mm-hmm.
Toward the end, everybody dies again. But then he gets to go back and maybe fix it a third time. And it's just, no, that's not, no.
Yeah, it's the weakest of the four.
Yeah.
Maybe the next one will be better.
Maybe. I don't know that I've seen the next one.
I don't. I saw the opening scene.
I'm not sure that I saw this one before. I think I'd lost interest at this point.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this one before. I saw a clip of the opening scene. The next one is a suspension bridge collapse.
Okay. Doesn't ring any bells.
And then they're making a new one that's
Yeah.
going to be coming soon.
Sometime in
Bloodlines.
May. Well, sometime in May, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Might be
pretty
real soon now.
Yeah.
All right, well, what was the word of the day? I forgot what I told you the word of the day was.
Lovecraft.
Lovecraftian.
Lovecraftian.
Yes. Which gives us a hint where we're going next
of
week.
Premonitions.
Now, if you go over to horrorguys.com and type in Lovecraft, you'll see that we've already done quite a few movies based on his stories. Next week, we got more of them.
Mm-hmm.
5 more. Actually, 6 more, but we only do 5 in a week, so something's going to have to wait. But next week is Lovecraft Week. And almost by association, it's Jeffrey Combs Week.
Yes, he does.
He seems to have done a lot of them.
He's managed to hook up with a lot of those, yeah. And Lovecraft's fiction is all out there on its public domain.
It is.
Yeah, so you can, Gutenberg.
Gutenberg.org, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's out there if you just Google it.
Do a little Googling, and yeah, you can read all of Lovecraft's stuff.
And if you're more interested about Lovecraft himself, you need to tune in next week, because we'll have a big announcement about Lovecraft next week.
All right.
We will.
But
Meanwhile,
until then,
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
We'll see you next week.
See ya.